Now, the First Coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by Weather Rate, sponsored by AC Designs.
Good evening, folks. If you were happening to be watching us on ABC 25, you likely saw it, or on NBC 12, you would have seen our ticker going across the bottom of the screen. We have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings out for areas just north of the Jacksonville metro. So the initial warning came out. It was for northern Duval into Nassau County and then into southern Camden. Now, two separate severe thunderstorm warnings, generally over the same locations, but just now for Camden and Glenn counties, both of which run until 7:45 this evening. Many of these storms formed kind of along a boundary just off to the west. So northern Charlton County, Brantley County was where these storms first initialized, where the sea breeze met up with some outflow boundaries from storms further off to the west. That is what kind of ignited these initially. The upper level winds are just gradually allowing these storms to drift back to the east-northeast here. And because of that, our areas closer to the I-95 corridor and coastal southeast Georgia are now seeing some pretty strong storms. So as I mentioned, these are going until 7:45 this evening, but it could produce some pretty gusty winds, upwards of 50 to even 60 miles per hour is what they are currently warned for right now. Also, pea to penny-sized hail could be possible in a few of these thunderstorms as well. So the worst of which is now just reaching I-95 in Camden County. You can see Woodbine there getting a lot of not only heavy rain, but a ton of lightning as well. And we'll take a closer look at that in a second here. I'm going to zoom in just a hair and show you where that strongest storm core is currently at. So right where Highway 17 kind of doubles back out towards 95. Very, very strong updraft there. So we still have easterly or southeasterly winds ahead of this that are feeding up into the storm itself, which is just adding, even more lift to the storm overall. And I can kind of draw for you what I'm talking about. So these storms are getting fed in with winds coming out of the east-southeast. So as the storm moves eastward, it's smacking right up against more of that kind of East Coast sea breeze and is continuing to fire up the intensity of some of these storms here. So if you happen to live in the Woodbine area, you have a very, very strong thunderstorm headed your way here very, very shortly. Also, I apologize. I'm doing this on my laptop, and the scrolling back and forth is not how I'm used to doing it. I'd also mentioned the lightning, though. I want to just put the lightning counter on. Not only some very, very heavy rain, but a ton of lightning in some of these. So what is that? Total number of strikes, 297 there in northern Camden County, and it's about to move into southern Glenn County. So there is a lot of lightning there. There's a ton of just energy within this storm itself that could certainly, not only produce some very, very heavy rainfall, but those gusty winds, and the lightning threat's always a concern here. So maybe if you're planning on taking your dog for, an evening walk or something like that, put it on pause for the time being. These storms will begin to move offshore here within about the next hour or so. So why don't I put a little bit of a track on these storms, give you an idea of what I am talking about here, and give you a kind of timing out when they might reach your neighborhood. So as I had said, they're moving to the east-northeast at about 15 miles per hour. So I just pause this quick and get a better look. So east-northeast at about 15 there. So Zuda, 746, Dock Junction, 806. The Brunswick area about 8:15. So within about the next 30 minutes, if you happen to live in the Brunswick area there in Glenn County, some of these storms will be headed your way. It does look like the strongest of those storms are probably going to pass just to the south of the Brunswick area. But if you happen to live in Dock Junction, still a pretty strong cluster of storms within this now what has kind of become a squall line. Still, quite strong there. And Dock Junction still is in that severe thunderstorm warning. It does not look like, let me come back over here. I know Brunswick is in the warning, but it really does look like the worst of it's probably going to head just to the south of the Brunswick area. So hop back over to the storm core and give you another look at where those strongest updrafts are, running pretty much right along the river there, right along the county line between Camden and Glen. So the area just to the southwest of Brunswick. You see those bright reds, those pinks. This area right here, that is where the best chance of seeing some 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts are going to be. Looks like that's going to travel perhaps just to the south of Brunswick, or potentially, I think it'll, with how the storm movement is, it looks like it'll head just south. We'll continue to watch this closely because if you do happen to live in the Brunswick proper and the downtown area, certainly could be a very strong, dangerous storm headed your way. But with how the storm is currently situated and how these storms have kind of been moving recently, it looks like it might just skirt by to the south a hair here. Here's just kind of another way to look at it. We'll loop it. Let's do for the last 30 minutes or so. Oops. Zoom back out here for you. And you can see this line extends the whole way really north of Glen County up towards the Townsend area there. But if you live to the west or the south of not only this area, but really in Jacksonville specifically, you look at the whole kind of state as a whole, or not state, but perhaps the First Coast as a whole, this is really the only thunderstorm activity that we have on scene right now. So if you live in Jacksonville, you're looking good. If you live in St. Johns County, if you live in Clay County, Putnam County, you're fine. If you live in Stark, down in Union or Bradford County, out in Baker County, McClenny, Sanderson, Columbia, and Columbia County, you're looking good. There's a little bit of some rain left in western Charlton and into Ware County, but again, it's really just what is left of those sea breeze collisions or outflow and sea breeze collisions there in Camden and Glen counties that is left. And if you were paying close attention, you probably just saw the National Weather Service did just drop one of those warnings. So now it is just this single warning. This runs until 8 p.m. They did include Brantley County. It looks like maybe they're thinking it's starting to build northward up along that boundary. So if you live in far eastern or southeastern Brantley County, be mindful of that. Although the worst of it has generally moved off to the east of you. It looks like the storms themselves are moving northward along the boundary. But otherwise, Camden and Glen are still in the thick of it. Let me see if the National Weather Service is saying anything. Really just continuing to stress the lightning threat and how frequent it is. So if you do happen to live in northern Camden County right now, you're getting a pretty decent light show with all the lightning within that. And that's been a common theme here over the past couple of days. This past weekend on both Saturday and Sunday, we had multiple rounds of some strong storms, several severe thunderstorm warnings. Actually, this very same area yesterday afternoon during the Formula One race, there was actually a severe thunderstorm warning up here at about 2:45, 3 or 3:30, somewhere in there. So yet again, you're getting another dose of some very heavy rain and some strong thunderstorms. So again, that runs until 8 o'clock. And if you're watching on TV at all or anything, we've got that ticker or scroll kind of running across the bottom of your stream or your screen. It'll beep from time to time just to notify you that it's still ongoing. But it does look like the overall core itself has begun to come down a little bit. So previously we were seeing those bright reds, those pink colors. That's showing you how strong the updraft is and really how much what we call vertically integrated liquid, or VIL. It's really just showing you how much juice, so to speak, is actually in that updraft. That has started to come down a little bit. So that's some good news, especially if you live in the Woodbine area there. Worst of it's now to the north of you. Similar story if you happen to live in the Fernandina Beach area. If you live in Nassau County, still some light rain lingering around and some downpours. But again, it looks like the majority of this is starting to build northward along the boundary, although the whole line is gradually moving eastward. It does look like the worst of it is starting to move away from the Jacksonville metro. And you can almost kind of see that on the loop. So over the past 30 minutes, some heavy rain in Nassau County, that started to wither away. So up near Fort Clinch and, the Fernandina Beach area and Amelia Island, still some light rain, but it really is starting to just kind of surge northward. So I will say with that storm movement, it does look like Brunswick is going to be right in the crosshairs of where the worst of this storm could potentially be. I had said, previously that it looked like it would move perhaps just to the south of there, but with how these storms are now kind of moving, looks like it could be right on Brunswick's doorstep very, very shortly. So let's put another little track on this, a little bit more, concentric to where Brunswick is at. Yeah, so 8:15. So that's with this storm moving about 15 miles per hour to the east-northeast. So actually, Toby, can you make this full quick? Yeah, there we go. So that folks can see it. So 8:15 for Brunswick and the Golden Isles, 8:18. Cypress Mills there at 8:20. Whereas, Fancy Bluff, it's going to be there within, and the worst of it, within about the next 10 minutes or so, if, less. Obviously, the radar scans can sometimes be about a minute or two behind, and there it's just another radar scan came in as it jumped forward. So it does look like, if you live in Fancy Bluff or Shelbine, it's pretty much there, if not going to be there very, very shortly. I had looked earlier, not on here, but while we were still on air, let me pull it up quick for you, the velocity, to see if there was any sort of rotation. Sometimes once these squall lines form, you can get these little kind of notches within them, especially thanks to those easterly winds kind of feeding up into the updrafts. That can sometimes enhance the low-level rotation within the line. There is a little bit due south of Brunswick some, and then due west of there's another little area, but overall, nothing real concerning, at least for the time being. So right here would be an area we would watch. Right down here would be another area we would watch. But based off of these scans, and you saw it just got updated again, not too worrisome. So that's good news that it looks like the tornado threat is very, very limited, which is what we, kind of already expected. It wasn't going to be a big concern anyways. But we always have to watch, especially once these storms move closer to the intercoastal and the coastline. You get a little bit more of wind dynamics and collisions kind of occurring there. So things can get, a little wonky from time to time. Land spouts and water spouts can often occur in situations like these. But looks like for the time being, that's not going to be much of a concern for folks there. So just zoom back in. This is, again, the only storm we've really got going right now. So if you live in downtown Brunswick, got a big storm, a lot of lightning. This is warned not only for the heavy rainfall and the lightning, but upwards of 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, and pea to penny sized hail is also a possibility. Now, based off of the reflectivity and the storm core itself, it does look like it has started to come down in intensity at least a hair. We'll see if that trend continues, because that's often something you have to watch with these. The overall trend, one radar scan can tell you one thing, and another scan 3 minutes later can show you something completely different at times, because these storms can kind of pulse. They'll strengthen. The downdraft will, express a lot of heavy rain. They'll weaken briefly, and then another surge of, heating and moisture and energy gets fed back up into the thunderstorm, back up into the updraft, and the storm can then strengthen yet again. So that's something we're watching. We had previously mentioned how much lightning was in this, and that's also a good sign. So it was somewhere in the 200 range, now down to just 180 number of strikes. So generally, although it just popped back up, that's there's now is at 354. That's very interesting. Let's see here. I wonder if it's pulling in from the lightning that was down there previously. Overall, though, if you're just looking at the lightning itself, it looks like it's generally come down quite a bit, especially right there along the county line where it's the worst. The overall lightning within the storm itself doesn't seem to be nearly as intense, which is also a dictates that the storm itself is beginning to at least shrink down, spread out a little bit, and is gradually weakening. But nonetheless, we'll continue to watch it closely here for you. Let me zoom back out just a compare. Oops, still in the lightning tracker. So besides Brunswick, other areas in Glenn County are still seeing some strong storms there. So everyone in Glenn County is pretty much going to be seeing some storms at some point within the next 30 to 45 minutes or so. We do expect this thing to be completely offshore by about 8:30. So another 45 minutes of some thunderstorm activity up here in Camden and Glenn counties. It does look like the worst of it is now in the northern half of Camden County. So let's just zoom in specifically to Camden here and give you a closer look. So yeah, Woodbine, you're looking much better than you were. So the thunderstorms are still around, still just off to your north, but the heaviest rainfall and the worst of the lightning and wind threat has now begun to move off to the east and the north from you. But extending northward from there, along Highway 17 and pretty much straight up I-95, still some strong, thunderstorm activity. So let me just check quick and see if the National Weather Service has updated anything for you. Just that they expired. Let's see here for Central Camden. Okay, so they're going to allow this severe thunderstorm warning, it looks like, to expire at 8 o'clock. And that is, straight in line with what I've kind of been saying here. The overall storm core itself, I'll pull that back up one more time, yet starting to weaken quite a bit. So not looking nearly as strong, seems to have kind of wrung itself out, so to speak. With regards to the rainfall and the moisture, the overall size of it's quickly shrinking on the southern extent of that thunderstorm as well. So we'll continue to monitor this, but Toby, since it's, and Toby's our woman behind the scenes here, since it's going to expire at 8 o'clock, I'm just going to let this ride out. If they happen to extend it, of course, we'll get back on, but it does look like things are improving for those folks. So one last time, up until 8 o'clock, this severe thunderstorm warning goes pretty much just for Camden and Glenn counties now at this point. It has been warned for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, P to penny-sized hail. It really does look like that hail threat has come down substantially, and the overall wind risk seems to be slowly subsiding. So at best, I would expect some 40 to 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Before we go, I'll just look quick and see if we have gotten any wind reports from folks up there. I don't see any. So hopefully that's a good sign that the winds aren't too strong up there in Camden and Glenn counties. But either way, if you live in the Brunswick area, nice strong storms headed your way. Just be mindful of that. If you have any patio furniture, potted plants, anything, bring that inside. But it does look like as this whole kind of cluster of thunderstorms works its way toward and over I-95 and then eventually out towards the intercoastal and over the beaches, it's going to continue to weaken. So the overall warning is going to run for about another 3 minutes or so, but looks like they're going to allow this to expire at 8 o'clock. So let's see. Yeah, they're just going to put a special weather statement on this storm for wind gusts upwards of 50 miles per hour, and that will include the Brunswick area through 8:30 tonight. So severe thunderstorm warning is going to be allowed to expire. I appreciate you guys tuning in to this quick little stream. Just wanted to keep you updated on those multiple warnings that we had here this evening. But until next time, stay dry, stay cool and hydrated out there with the heat the next couple of days. And hopefully you can tune in to First Coast News at 11 later tonight. We'll have an updated look at your forecast ahead for the rest of the week. But for now, I'm meteorologist Ross Mumal. Take care and enjoy the rest of your Monday night.